Okay. So we're recording. Yes. So if everybody could just go ahead and announce who you are and where you're from. So we're going to get started in this call, and then I'm going to introduce our speaker. If you can just unmute yourself, or
Hi. Hi, I'm Beverly from Cleveland.
hey, Beverly.
Hi.
Hi. And who else do we
Rebecca
have?
from Richdale.
Well, hi, Rebecca.
Good morning. I mean, good afternoon. Good morning.
Afternoon.
Or good evening, whatever the case. Mike Johnson from South Carolina, who is temporarily in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, wow. Welcome, Michael, from Texas tonight.
Ann Pruitt from Denham Springs, Louisiana.
Welcome, Ann Pruitt and Troy.
He's right behind me.
Kendra Honore, Smyrna, Delaware.
Hello, Kendra. Welcome to the call. And
Hi, I'm Sherry from Wingham, Ontario, Canada.
oh, wow, nice. Welcome to the call. Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So, guys, our speaker this evening is a human performance expert and a 30-year veteran in personal franchising, and has been a six-figure earner in 5 different companies. His success and extensive industry experience has provided the foundation for Execute 90. This is the textbook, guys, for getting started in your own personal franchise. So Clay has been a master mentor to many six-figure earners who have a presence in over 80 different companies. Clay owns 4 patents, and he is also a 5-time best-selling author. And this is the textbook. This is the book. And what he is going to talk to you about tonight and talk to us about tonight is to focus on I'm sorry, Clay. Focusing on the journey and not the destination. So, and he is my mentor. He is a master mentor to many of people that we're in business with. He has absolutely touched my life. He's a precious dear friend of ours. And I'd like to bring forth Mr. Clay Stevens.
Awesome. Thank you, Cherie. Not to be confused with Sherry, although it's spelled the same name, it appears. So it's all good. So I'm glad to be here tonight. Thank you so much for inviting me to share a few minutes with you guys here tonight. Just curious, want to make sure that I understand how ish much time do I have? 1 hour, 2 hours, 8 hours? What do I got?
1 hour. And if you
Okay,
can go over if you want.
Okay, so we better get cracking then. So it's good to see you all tonight. I'm excited to be with you guys here in this context. I was on a call with some of you this morning. It was totally fun talking about the journey. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the first part of Execute 90, which Cherie showed you on the screen, which is why in the world would you want to own a personal franchise? Why would you want to do that? And the list is like super long. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to do that. We're going to talk about some of those things tonight. But I want to sort of start by giving you a context. So Cherie, can I share my screen? If you give me the chance to do it, can I do that?
I can do that and make you co-host.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you guys just quickly. And probably be a good idea for everybody to mute themselves so that I don't have to hear me twice. So I'm pretty sure you don't want me to hear me twice. So one of the lessons that we have that comes from the book, one of the chapters of the book talks about, what if that wasn't true? What if that wasn't true? What if there was proof that the status quo was not true? Now, what do I mean by the status quo? I mean that go to school, get a degree, like get an education of some kind and then go to work for somebody else and then work your way up the company ladder, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what if that was not the way to create the life that you wanted to be able to create? Now, the evidence, research, and your experience should show you that old ways of thinking and doing things are in fact obsolete. Look, the truth is that today where I live, the price of gas went up 15 cents. 15 cents. That's like, what is happening? So it's totally crazy. Now, how do you keep up with that, right? How do I keep up with inflation? Almost everything, including stuff like wood, now gasoline. So gasoline is about $1.40 more than it was a year and a half ago. So how do you keep up with that? And I will tell you that anything made out of paper is going to follow the same path as wood. So if you print, like printing paper, print paper for your printer, toilet paper, anything made out of paper is going to the same exact thing that happened with wood is going to happen with those things. How do you keep up? How do you keep up with this? Well, you could go ask your boss for a job, for a job, number one. You could ask your boss for a raise and see how that works out for you. Or you could get 2 jobs, or you could trade your life essentially away. Now, the heads of government, scientists, philosophers, leading thoughts, everybody believe, everybody, including if you went to school today, you would be taught that the traditional ways of doing things will always be as they have always been. Nothing's going to change. What are you talking about? Change? You're crazy, Clay. Like, it's not going to change. Well, Columbus, so you know the guy in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That Columbus had a hard time finding sailors willing to risk their lives on his expedition, because they thought that they would sail out there and they would fall off because the earth was flat. Well, what if the earth wasn't flat? Very few were willing to ask the question, what if that wasn't true? What if that wasn't true? What if that wasn't true? Now, what happens when massive success doesn't instantly appear for some people? Well, the wind stopped blowing for Columbus, right? He went across the ocean, took him 53 days to get across there. And the wind did stop blowing. And it did that for 10 consecutive days. Like they're sitting out in the middle of the ocean, can't go anywhere. 10 straight days. Now, do you think the crew had deep-seated belief that the world was flat? Like they had a belief that the world was flat. You think they began to doubt? You think they began to complain or maybe plot to overthrow Columbus? I don't know what they would have done if they'd have thrown him out in the ocean, right? But because they had no way to get anywhere. But 10 days without seeing land is totally crazy, right? Not making any progress in any direction at all. Now, on October 12, 1492, 70 days after they departed, not departed from Spain, not the Canary Islands, the crew and 3 ships landed in what are today called the Bahamas. And interestingly enough, the impossible now seemed not only plausible, not only possible, but predictable. Because not only did they go once, not only go twice, they went multiple times, 3, 4, 5 times they went across and back to Spain. Now, the interesting problem was they only saw land for 4 days on the 70-day voyage. 2 days in the beginning and 2 days before they landed. That's all they saw. That's all I could see land was just that. Now, the truth was hidden. The truth of the earth being round was hidden in plain sight, which became a limiting belief for civilizations for thousands of years. Now, without somebody to question the core belief that the earth was flat, we may never have known. So when Columbus returned to Spain, it was like, oh my gosh, what happened? So had a new paradigm about the way that things were going on. So hidden in plain sight, yeah, the same way Columbus announced and then proved the world's not flat, a new world is shifting right in front of our eyes. And the evidence is everywhere. In fact, we have more evidence that the world is shifting in front of us. We have way more evidence than Columbus did when he was willing to bet his life on that journey. Now, the question first of all, is are you willing to question the common belief that traditional ways of doing things or earning income are as ancient as the belief that the world is flat? Because if you're not willing to do that, then this is going to be a problem, because you're always going to be stuck with people who won't be able to make the change with you. They won't be able to do that with you. That doesn't say they'll be stuck. There's a story about this in the book, Execute 90, about people being stuck in the past and not being able to manage moving their lives forward. So, interestingly enough, what I'm going to do is to share my screen again with you, and I'm going to really help you, I hope, understand a couple of things here. So, the notion that in the agricultural age, so let's just get a quick history lesson. Wealth was created by growing things. Common beliefs, right? Things will always stay the same. Get a profession, get qualified, and you're going to get paid somehow. Tech advances force a change. Food becomes an inexpensive commodity. People go to work in factories, right? They left because they got replaced by technology in factories where they could earn money so that they could buy food that they were having to work in before instead of growing it. Now, in the industrial age, which is what happened, right? Wealth was created by making things. Common beliefs, things are always going to stay the same. Things are always going to stay the same. They're going to always be, get a job, become qualified, move up the food chain, right? And you're going to get paid somehow. Technology advances force yet another change. Food and now products have become inexpensive. So people go off to work now in offices so they can earn money to buy food and products instead of growing and making them. Do you see a pattern beginning to emerge here? Now, in the information age, wealth was created by distributing things. Now, you know that Amazon will deliver stuff like crazy. There's Prime trucks all over the place. And there's UPS and FedEx and DHL, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you want to go into competition with that, that's what you would have to do to create wealth in the information age, in this age that we're in right now. So, common beliefs, interestingly enough, things are always going to be like this. Things are always going to be exactly the way that they are right now. Get a job, right? Go to school, get a job, get more qualified, right? And then somehow you're going to get paid. But technology advances are forcing another change. Just think about what we're doing right now in this very moment. Right now, in the moment in which we are right now living, this would not have been possible as little as 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we couldn't have done this. We didn't have any way to do this. Food products distribution become inexpensive commodities. People go to work at office jobs to earn money to buy food products and then get them fast and inexpensively. Go to school, get a job, and hope that you can move up the company ladder. I say, hope you can move up the company ladder, except that now we live in a new age. We live in a share age, or you could say connected age, where wealth is created by teaching, encouraging, and influencing networks of people. Let me say that again. Wealth is created by teaching, encouraging, and influencing networks of people. Now, without breaking any math rules at all, you can take this guy and you can move him to the front, which is exactly what we've done down here. Right? Now, I would ask you, how do you want to live? Now, there's an age-old question that says, what do you want to be when you grow up? That question is as outdated as the income economic work model that it describes. What do you want to be when you grow up is a question that says, go to school, get a job, get more qualified, and hopefully somehow you're going to move up the company ladder and get paid. I'm going to teach you a new question. So if you don't get anything else out of this, you'll at least get a new question to ask your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, neighbors, whatever. And that is, How do you want to live when you grow up? How do you want to live when you grow up? This is an entirely different question. How do you want to live when you grow up? This is very, very, very different. This is a different deal. So what I'm saying to you is that it's important for you to recognize that things are not the same. They're not the same. Not at all. They're not at all the same. Like not even remotely the same. Yes, we still speak English in the US, and Sherry, who is from Ontario, probably has had to learn or at least deal with people who speak French. So we speak English in this country. And yes, that's the same. And yes, we still sleep mostly in beds. And yes, we still sleep in houses. And yes, we still have cars. That part of it's the same. But how does life actually function? How is wealth created? What is the new income model for the 21st century? The answer is it's not go get a job and work for somebody else. It is just plain flat out not, that is not the way that this works anymore. If you want to create wealth. Now, if you want to be working for somebody else the rest of your life, that's up to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just recognize that you're going to be stuck with somebody else controlling what's happening in your life. So what do you believe? Do you believe in the status quo, that things will always be the same as they are now? Because I've just shown you agricultural, industrial, information age, and each of them were different kinds of changes in the economy and what people did to be able to create the life that they wanted to be able to create. So what do you believe? The world is flat or round? Wealth is created by what? Growing things, making things, distributing things, or influencing networks of people. What do you believe? This is a fundamental question for you to deal with, making your life work in the age in which we right now actually live. This is where we live. Now, it's based on a belief, your belief in what it is that you're going to be able to do in your world. What do you want to be able to do? I mean, how do you want to live? I say to myself, I don't want to live. I don't want to live like my parents lived, trading time for money, like my neighbors lived, trading time for money. Go from home to work and work to home and home to work and work to home and home to work and work to home and home to work and work to home, which is sort of like the educational process that we have all engaged in, which teaches us essentially short-term thinking. It teaches us to be short-term thinkers. So if you're thinking about, well, okay, why have a personal franchise? Let me just take the next few minutes and discuss that with you. So in the book, Execute 90, which is where this is taken from, right? This is the perfect business, talks about the perfect business. In a free market economy, there have been perfect business models in each of those eras. In the agricultural age, W.W. Cargill, who you may have heard of, created a business, and it's still, the guys are still going today. In the industrial age, right, making things, there was a perfect business model for that, which wasn't the same business model as the agricultural age. And then comes the information age with its own perfect business model, which wasn't suited for the industrial or agricultural age. Well, guess what? Here we are. 4 business models, right? I'm going to go through each of these things: a corporation, a franchise, network marketing, and personal franchising. Now, a traditional corporation, right, has a structure. So think about this. Because I'm not ripping the traditional corporation. I'm not ripping it at all. I'm just saying, let's just look at that. The traditional corporate structure, you don't get paid by the problem is you don't get paid by simply choosing to follow some master action plan and purposely move up the company. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor, only 1 in 1,000 employees becomes an executive in the corporate world. So I'm not a smart math guy, but 1 in 1,000, I think maybe I should play the lotto. I should play the lottery, right? So in a free market economy, right? Here we are in the second part of this whole thing. Now, the traditional corporation is a pyramid. It has a pyramid structure, multiple levels, right? Multiple levels and management, etc. And for you to be able to move up any of these levels, like move from entry level to management, first of all, you got to have lots of education in order to be able to get these entry level jobs. You don't just show up one day and say, hi, I'm here, you're saved. So in order to move to management, right, you got to have hopefully the right, you got to not only be able to do the work, but you got to be in the right place with the right people and have relationships. And if you want to become an executive, that is 1 in 1,000. 1 in 1,000. Those are your chances of getting to that top level. So it's pretty low. It's a pretty low chance for you to be able to move forward. And you don't get to choose that. So there's a glass ceiling. Now, in a traditional corporation, here's the program. The allure of the W-2 employee model, working for somebody else, is that you start out at some income level. So if I went and got a job today, the employer would say, here's how much we're paying. So I was coming home tonight and there was a sign that said, we're hiring. And I think the sign said like $15 plus an hour, 15 an hour. So that person, whoever's going to get that job or the jobs that are like that, they're going to make $15. Now, the truth is, in the beginning, that person is being overpaid because they're paying, the employer is paying that person to get trained, to get up to snuff, to provide value. See, this is value, right? This is the value, right? And here we are up here. So you're overpaid in the beginning for probably about 90 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? Now your value is going up, right? Here we go. So get this to work, we'll be in business. But the income based on willingness of an employer to invest in employees. See, the employer is investing in you in the beginning. That's what's happening. Now, the value that an employer gets in the first 90 days less than the wages that they pay out. Now, here's what happens. Here you are, and you're operating along this line right here. And until these lines meet, now it's an even deal. I'm providing exactly the same amount of value as I'm being paid. Employers pay employees, they pay them as little as they possibly can, right? Wholesale price, but they sell their time retail. Now, why have a personal franchise? You see, there is some disparity here, right? In the beginning for about 90 days. And then zingo, bingo, bingo. You see, while this person right here is operating down here and they're getting paid wholesale wages, but their time is being sold retail, a person who owns a personal franchise, you see, is now starting to go boom. But look in the beginning, you don't make any money on the first day. Here you start making money immediately. Not much, but you start getting paid immediately. Now, the tables are turned after 90 days. Okay, this is why the freedom question, what do you want to be if you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up, right, is dangerous because it forces people to give away control. It forces you to give away control, puts kids on the path of lifestyle mediocrity. Now, the big business franchise, the familiar franchise model that you all know of, McDonald's and Burger King and Walmart's not a franchise really, but it works on the same principle, right? Same thing. Okay. This has systems and operations, very predictable, extremely predictable. You don't really need any previous experience. All you gotta do is show up with money and a lot of desire to work hard for a long period of time. Okay. So now they're only available to the wealthy through high franchise costs and fees. Cost over $2 million to get a McDonald's today. And you'd be on a waiting list and they can take that franchise away from you if you don't play ball. So what's the advantage of a corporation? Structure. What's the advantage of a franchise? System. What is a disadvantage of a corporation? Glass ceiling. You don't choose to move up. What is the disadvantage of a franchise? A big business, big investment. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to be able to play the game. Now, network marketing. So I engaged in a model called network marketing a long time ago. And it was totally amazing. And I made a lot of money by influencing networks of people. I was on the edge. I was on the crest of the economic model change. I could see the change was coming. So I said, wait a minute, what do I got to do? Well, you need to teach and influence networks of people. So what is the advantage of network marketing? Well, it's built around the idea that everybody has a sphere of influence and you can be your own boss. If you want to be, you could do that. Now, they're usually niche markets, right? And they lack usually a real recipe for success. So what's the advantage? Word of mouth, totally cool because you have a sphere of influence. And if you get excited about a particular product or a product line or something, right, then you can actually engage that way. Now, personal franchising. This is why you're here. Why would you want to own a personal franchise? Well, the advantages. What are the advantages of a personal franchise? Structure, check. System, check. Word of mouth, check. I can choose in a personal franchise, I can choose as a personal franchisee, I can choose how much money I make. I can choose how much time to spend. I can choose about who I want to be in business with. I can choose and I can take advantage of structure, systems, and metrics to be able to move forward. I get to choose all of that. It takes the advantages of the corporation, the franchise network marketing models, and combines them into one superpower business model. Now, this model levels the playing field, girls and boys. It levels the playing field for everybody. It has all of the necessary components to win, but you don't have to have $1 zillion to start. You don't have to have a great college background. You don't have to have a university this or a university that. You don't have to have those things. So what the heck is a personal franchise? Anyway, you might be wondering to yourself. Well, it's the right. There's 5 or 6 different definitions here. So I just want you to understand this is not the gospel according to Clay. I'm just telling you what it is that I know and how I know that the world is not flat anymore. The world's not flat anymore. The world is not flat. The world is round. Well, what does that mean? That means you can control what happens to you in the future. So what's the definition of a personal franchise? The right or license granted to an individual or group to market a company's goods and services. That's from the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary, right? The Collins English Dictionary, a type of license that allows access to business proprietary knowledge, processes, and landmark and trademarks in order to allow a party to sell a product, or provide a service under the business's name. So if you were in a particular company, you had an affiliation with a particular company, you'd be in business. The Harvard Business Review, a license privilege to do business, right? And assistance in an organization, training, merchandising, marketing, etc. The International Franchise Association. Now, this may be boring to you, right? But I want you to understand that what we're doing here isn't some made up thing. It's not 4 guys in a garage or, men and women in some basement somewhere deciding personal franchising is a cool thing. And here's why. I'm not making this up. I'm not smart enough to make this up, but I can take advantage of it. So Investopedia, an arrangement where a company grants an individual or group the right to use its trademark or trade name, as well as certain business systems and processes to produce a market and market a good or service according to certain specifications. So what I love is this guy right here. You want to be a franchisee or a franchisor? Would you like to be McDonald's Inc? Or would you like to be a McDonald's franchisee? Now, here's the good news, is that you can actually, in personal franchising, the heck happened here? Personal franchising is that you can be both. You can be both. You can be in business, right, as a franchisee. And as soon as you start sharing the message with other people and people engage with you in any meaningful kind of way, then what you have now become is a franchisor. That is to say, you are extending the reach of the franchise to other people that you know within your sphere of influence. Now you might be saying, well, wait, how does that work? How could that really? I'm not really a franchisor. Well, actually, you are. Your job is to extend the reach to other people, extend the reach of the company, the sponsoring corporation, to other people. And that's essentially how you get paid to create wealth. That's how you create wealth. You create wealth in the economy in which we now live by not only being this circle. Let me just go back real quick by page up. By just being this circle, franchisee, just totally cool, right? I got customers and people who I'm affiliated with and people who buy stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But when I become the franchisor, I start extending the brand of this company out to here, to people that the company would not know about without me. You save the corporation millions and millions of dollars, and they share that money with you. You cannot do that if you own a McDonald's franchise. I can't talk to my friend and say, hey, I know you got a couple of $1 million. How about if you buy a McDonald's franchise, and because I introduced you to the model of franchising, I'm going to get a percentage of all of your sales. You can't do that. In a big business franchise, you can't do that. It doesn't work that way because it's not set up in any way, shape, or form to do that. If you got another $2 million, you could probably buy another franchise someplace, but that's not how this works. See, it's a big ticket item only available to the wealthy. So franchisee and franchisor. Now, big business franchising is merging with independent business franchising, personal franchising, I would call it, to create a superpower business model. And that's the critical deal. So why in the world would you ever want to have a personal franchise? Why in the world would you want to be able to do that? Well, let me just take a second and just, I hope, share with you something that I think you might find interesting. Here's some facts and figures. All of the advantages and none of the disadvantages. You can read this probably as fast as I can talk about it, right? Big business upside, personal franchising upside. You can see that these lists are exactly the same. They're word for word. And if there are words that are misspelled, they're misspelled words. It's the same list. So what do you have? You have all of the benefits and none of the disadvantages. Now you look at this list. These lists are not the same. Profit sharing required with a franchise, or if you own a McDonald's, you're going to pay a franchising fee after you buy the actual franchise. Interestingly enough, in personal franchising, the franchisor shares its profits with you, not the other way around. There's no territorial limits. There's no inventory, no accounting systems, no order fulfillment, no returns, no research and development, no payroll, no employees, no benefits to employees. Fulfillment is handled by somebody else. Customer service taken care of by somebody else. Now, I don't like those disadvantages. So I don't have any of them in what we're talking about here. Now, what is the personal equation? Now, there's a little bit of math involved with this thing. So I think I'm probably not even going to talk about this tonight. So what I want you to understand is that for the first time in human history, you have the capability to be able to move your own life and world forward. You can do that. You can choose what you're doing, choose to move forward, choose to take advantage of the share age economy and instead of getting taken advantage of by it. Okay. So I just want you to understand exactly what it is that we're talking about here. Why own a personal franchise? Because you are in control. You get to choose who, what, when, why, and how to be able to move forward. Which I'm totally in love with this idea. You get to choose exactly how in the world this works. How does this work? How does this move forward? So you think about having a job. You think about that. What does it mean? What would it mean to be having a job for you? I mean, what is that? What is the benefit of having a job? Well, I get to go to work, and I get to go to work for somebody else who may or may not have my interest at heart. They may not care about me. They care whether I show up or don't show up. They care about what I do, or they don't. I mean, do they really care that much? I used to work as a corporate executive, and I used to think to myself, man, how much of a difference have I really made in the lives of the people who have worked for me or with me, depending on how you want to be able to say that. How much real difference did I have, or was I able to make with the people who worked with me? You know, the answer is not much. I mean, they come to work and we work on projects and we do stuff and they get paid and, you know, that. But in terms of their real life, how much difference in those people's lives do I actually get to make? Really? I don't want them taking my job. About them. And I don't want them to replace me. So how motivated was I really to help any of those people create massive wealth in regards to that? Now, finally here, I'm just going to share here for the next few minutes here, but there is an exponential growth curve, an exponential income opportunity for you to be able to take advantage of. Now, I understand not everybody wants to be a millionaire. I get it. But what if you could pay off all of your credit card debt? What if you could pay your cars off? What if you could pay your house off? What if you could pay for college education? What if you could contribute to whatever charity you wanted to be able to contribute to as often as you wanted to be able to take advantage of that? Well, this picture helps us to kind of see what's going on here. Because if you think about your income doubling every 90 days, okay, this is 1 year. So this is 90 days, first 90 days, second 90 days, third 90 days, fourth 90 days, 9 quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters. What if your income could double every 90 days? I'm not saying it's going to, but I will bet you that you can't go to your boss and say, hey, boss, I want you to double my pay every 90 days. I'm making $1,000 a month now. 90 days from now, I want to make 2. And 90 days after that, I want to make 4. And 90 days after that, I want to make 8. And I want you to pay me that, or I'm going to stop coming here. And I think he would say, or she would say, well, why don't you just stop coming now? Because it ain't happening. Oh, we're not doing that. That's not happening that way. So here's a 2-year business plan. Why own a personal franchise? Because of the exponential possibilities of you creating wealth that you want to be able to create. Now, this is monthly. I'm talking about monthly incomes here. So in the 5th 90 days, if you're following this, 250 became 5, and 5 became 1,000, and 1,000 became 2. And now in the 5th 90 days, okay, so now we're out to rate. We're out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're out here. Okay. So this is 4, and this is now 5 is out here. Okay. Now we're up to 4, and then up to 8, and then 16, and then 32,000. That would be this guy right here. $32,000 a month. That's 4,000. So that's 8. What is 4 divided by 4? It's 8. That's $8,000 a week. $8,000 a week. Most people aren't making $8,000 a week. $32,000 a month. Most people aren't creating that kind of income in their life. So Let's just go one more. Let's just go 3 years. I'm not talking about how rich are you going to be 25,000 years from now. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying 3 years from now. 3 years. You realize the pandemic really started about 1.5 years ago. That's half of the time it would take you to create wealth, what I would consider to be decent wealth, 3 years from now. You see this 8 right here, this guy is that's where this dot is. And this is this 3rd year right here. That's the 3rd year income. 32 turns into 64, which turns into 128, which turns into 256, which turns into 512. When we could do the math for a long time. Most people are not making $500,000 a month. Now, I have a business partner, a co-author of Execute 90, is making not quite $500,000 a month. Like close, but not exactly yet. I mean, he'll be there by the end of the year because he's doubling. Why? If for no other reason, why would you want to own a personal franchise? Because you can leverage the network of people that you can teach, influence, and encourage. You can't do that at your job, not to double and then double and then double and double and double and double and double, not to double 12 times for $512,000. Look, I've worked in corporate America. I've worked as an employee. I've worked as a W-2 employee. I've worked as a 1099 contract. I've done all of that stuff. Been there, done that. Own traditional businesses where I got to buy people's time wholesale and sell it retail. I've been there, done that. You can't get to wealth doing some of these very interesting things. So I would just ask you, if you're thinking, well, what do I want my world to look like? Why a personal franchise? Let me get back here where I can share my screen again with you. So the answer is, so let me hopefully go backwards, or what happened here? Okay, so let me go backwards. So you can just compare and contrast. Linear self-work, personal production models, go get a job for somebody else, right? Or do all the work yourself, right? And what that creates. This is the blue line. And this is what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And what you create in this business model, using this business model, is not only great for you, it's not only great for your kids because they'll be able to live in that. It's not only great for you to be able to give to higher causes and greater purposes that you want to be able to deal with, et cetera, do what you want, when you want, because you want, not only because of that, but because the income is inheritable. You can pass this along to kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. You could pass this along to other people. So why in the world would you want to own a personal franchise? Because the world is not flat. The world's not flat. If you're living in a world where you thought that the world was flat, you'd be stuck, the truth is, because you would not be able to operate and manage in a world of reality. Home to work, work to home, home to work, work to home, home to work, work to home, home to work, home to work. That's like, okay, what am I doing? Then the pandemic shows up and then half of the workforce gets laid off, which is the modern word for fired. And then this is totally crazy. We don't live in the same world that our kids grew up, that our parents grew up in, or that our grandparents grew up in. And our kids or grandkids don't live in the same world we grew up in. We live in the share age. We just live in a different place. We live in a different economic model in human history. and it ain't going back. It's not going back to what it was before. People will not put up with that silly nonsense anymore because there are options to be able to own a personal franchise. You have the option to be in total and complete control over what in the world is happening in your world, what's happening in your life. How do you want to live? Do you want to decide how much money you make? Do you want to decide what kind of cars you drive? Do you want to decide what kind of house you live in? Do you want to decide what kind of health care you get? Do you want to decide what neighborhood you live in? Do you want to decide what kind of clothes you wear? Do you want to decide where you go out to dinner, or even if you can go out to dinner? Do you want to decide what your schedule is going to be? Do you want to decide whether you can actually go to PTA meetings or to go to grandkids, this stuff or that stuff? Do you want to decide what, or do you want somebody else to decide that for you? And what I mean by, do you want somebody else to decide for you? If you have a job, which means just over broke, if you have a job, somebody else is deciding what, because they tell you how much money you can make. Somebody else is deciding what kind of cars you can drive. You can't drive a brand new. So I have my youngest son has a Porsche 911 that I did not give him, by the way. So he bought it himself. So drives around on a Porsche 911. You can't really do that working for somebody else. He decided that. Somebody else isn't telling him, sorry, you're going to get paid $4 or $5 or $10 or $15 an hour. You ain't buying no Porsche with $15 an hour job. You're just not going to do it. He goes where he wants, when he wants, because he's created a life that's surrounded by him making decisions. If somebody else is telling you how much money you're going to make, they tell you what kind of cars you drive because you only got a certain amount of money, what kind of house you can live in because you only got a certain amount of money, what kind of neighborhood you can live in because you only got a certain kind of income, what kind of vacations you can take, and when you can actually take them. Somebody else is deciding what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of health care you get. And somebody else makes that decision for you. I'm just kind of a control freak, I guess. I want to decide how to live my life. I don't want somebody else deciding that for me. Somebody else who's clearly not going to be nearly as motivated to make the kinds of decisions I want to make to help my life as I would. If I'm in control, I get to decide. Why personal franchising? Oh my goodness. If you knew what it was like to get up when you want to get up in the morning, and if that's at 5 o'clock in the morning, great. And if that's at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, crack of noon, you get free. And if you don't like it, go get a job. Like if you really don't like being in control, then get a job. Go get a job. Do you want to serve in the church in which you go to? Man, there's a great way to be able to do that. As much of that as you want. They'll take all of your time that you'll be willing to give them. I'm just telling you, the life of a personal franchisee and a personal franchisor is unparalleled, bar none. More millionaires are created in this industry than in every other industry combined. Let me say that again. More millionaires created in this industry than in every other industry combined. And yes, that includes the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, etc. They create lots of millionaires, but not nearly like this industry does. It's not even close. It's like, I don't know how many times more millionaires, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 times the millionaires in the personal franchising industry than in everything else all combined. Millionaires. Really, only 1 in 1,000 people ever becomes an executive. And most executives aren't making $1 million. Just saying that you can look at this and say, man, I don't want to do that. Well, okay, maybe you don't want to do that. But do you want to live like you're living right now? Which pain is the greater one? wanting to own a personal franchise or wanting to live in a particular way. And you get to choose. See, that's the beauty of this, is that you get to choose what you want your life to be like. There's a predictable way to make this work. That book that Cherie put up, which you can see in my screen right over here, Execute 90, that book, that is the playbook. It's the manual. Read that book. You can win 1,700% faster than if you don't use that book. 17 times faster than if you don't use that. So you want a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan? What is your 3-year plan? What is your 1-year plan? Well, I'm going to go to work and come home and go to work and come home and go to work and come home and go to work and come home. And somebody's going to pay me, and I'm going to figure out how to not go crazy, trying to figure out how to, if what happens. There's one last thing, and then I'm going to turn the time back to you, Cherie. Do you know that I don't care what the price of gasoline is? I don't care personally. I don't care if gas, I don't want it to be $10 a gallon, but if gas went to $10 a gallon, I'm not going to miss lunch. I don't care. If gas goes to $10, I'll pay the $10. It's not a thing. I would prefer it didn't go to $10, but if it does, it's not, my life's not going to significantly change if it does. It's just the way the world works if you are in control of what's happening in your life. And if you're not in control, then you're not in control. That doesn't make you bad, sick, or wrong that you're not in control. It just means you're not in control, and just accept I'm not in control. Somebody else is controlling. I'm a puppet on strings. Somebody else is controlling how I live my life. It's okay to accept that. I think it's more. So I met a Hawaiian guy not very long ago. I used to live in Hawaii, and it's mo better, right? Is what he would say. It's mo better to be in control, for you to call the shots in how your life is going to work, in how your retirement is going to work, in what your retirement is going to look like. Because retirement, girls and boys, is not about age. It's not about the color of your hair. I retired. I haven't had a job since way before this was gray. Retirement is about income. It's not about age at all. It has nothing to do with it. If you had $32,000 a month coming in and you were 20 years old, do you think you could retire? I'm pretty sure. If you have $1,000 a month coming in and you're 64 years old, not retirement age yet, really, you're stuck. It's not about age. It's about how much money you got coming in, how much money, what are you generating? And wealth in the share age, girls and boys, is created through personal franchising by influencing, encouraging, and teaching networks of people. Not going to an office, not trading your time for money, not going to a factory to make stuff all day, and not going to work on a farm as a farm laborer. That's not how wealth is created in this share age that we're working with. So Cherie, thank you so much for letting me be able to share. If there's questions, I'm happy to entertain them, because I think we maybe have a minute or two left. I don't know. I haven't been looking at the clock. Yeah, we got a minute or two. And I'm trying to be sensitive to everybody's time here. I know that it's almost 10 o'clock in the East Coast. So I just want to say thank you, Cherie, for all that you do. Nakima for creating this, I suspect maybe in conjunction with Cherie and Kimberly and Bev and so forth. But I just wanted to say thanks for letting me have an opportunity to be able to share with you guys here tonight. I hope this has been useful. My only one question for you, and you can send me an email at Clay, CLAY, at execute90.com. My question for you, you can ask me some questions here in a second, but my question for you is, what value did you get out of this hour of your life that you invested here tonight? What value did you get out of this tonight? Now, I'll entertain whatever kinds of questions, if that is appropriate. I don't know how this works every week, but if that's appropriate, I'm happy to entertain whatever questions you have. Just make sure to unmute yourself and you can ask away. So Cherie, and I'll just let you handle this going forward.
Great. Thank you, Clay, so much. That was fabulous information. And I know I've heard you talk before, but that information was fabulous. So What was your biggest takeaway, guys? I know I'm just seeing this. I'm just still in shock. Nakima raised her hand. Okay, Nakima in California.
I am here and
Oh.
I listened to every last word, and I gotta say, if you didn't take it away, I'm living what Clay is talking about right now, because we are here looking at our dream. How do we want to live? And it's through our network marketing business that we are able to decide how we want to live and where we want to live. So I hope everyone got as much value as me listening from this end while walking in the vineyards of California and saying, okay, honey, is it going to be Templeton? Is it going to be Santa Cruz? How do you want to live? So I hope you got that. Thank you so very much, Clay. Back to you, Cherie.
Oh, that was great, Nakima. Nakima, if someone wants to watch the replay, can you let us know? Can you say where can they go to get the replay?
Okay, so this replay I'm going to place on my website. I'm also going to send it to Clay. So Clay is going to have a copy of it as well. So he'll place it on execute90.com so that people can access it.
Wonderful. So that's Leadership Biz Solutions.
Yeah, on Facebook. Leadership Biz Solutions on Facebook. As a matter of fact, it'll be up before the weekend is out, and that way you can look at it from there. And I'll also send a copy, so Clay will also place it on execute90.com, so you can go there and take a look at it as well.
Okay,
so much,
great.
Clay.
Sherry from Canada was asking, so that's why I wanted to ask you. Thank you. Beverly.
Yes, thank you so much, Clay. You always give us such a wealth of knowledge, and I just love the way it just pours out of you. I wish I had that ability, but to be able to explain what personal franchise mean, what it means to own your own business, I love the breakdown on that. And also, every 90 days, you can have exponential growth within your wealth. So there's so many good things. That Execute 90 is such a powerful tool for us. Thank you so much.
Wow, great, Beverly. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Anne, what was your biggest takeaway? Anne there. Rebecca. Oh, she is.
My biggest takeaway was just hearing everything again, because of the fact that I'm so excited about the system, and watching everybody living their dreams, like Nakima in California and so forth, and Clay talking about Terry Johal making $32,000 a month. I mean, not him making it, but people who make $32,000 a month. And it's just, oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Great.
Thank you, Clay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just raise your hand. I don't know Steve or Roger. But I know we have Kendra. Anybody else has the biggest takeaway? Michael? All right.
For me,
Michael's here.
for me, Cherie and Clay, it's the way that you went over again and really articulated the fact that we can be in control. It's not somebody else. It's not looking for somebody else. We can be in control. And it's something that I've told my own sons for years. You know, there's always good news and bad news. The good news is you have the right to choose. The bad news is you have the right to choose. And in this, we have the right to choose. But thanks, Clay. It was so clear and so concise tonight, this whole step-by-step process. That with what you just said this morning when we were on the difference makers, it's just incredible and awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
So
Thank you.
Kimberly and Kendra.
Kimberly?
Good evening. Hi, yes, we're here at our center. I'm here with Maria Kuros. And I tell you, the information is just so impactful to help. I'm sorry about my background noise, but the information is so impactful to help us to be able to take control over our lives, and then to be able to, in 90 days, to be able to make an impact every 90 days. That is just incredible in itself. This help you to be able to see that you can move along and create the atmosphere that you need for your business for that retirement fund, like he mentioned. And so this is just so helpful. And like I said earlier today, that you have made an impact in our lives by bringing this information to us and helping us to see how a system can create that freedom that we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Kendra.
Good evening, Clay. Good evening, everyone. I love the concept of how you put the franchisee and the franchisor together. That's an excellent concept, and it just shows, all the benefits. And I believe that's a great, motivation tool, just breaking that down, explaining how the two come together, how you can really, and excel and expanding your business. So I thought that was I love that.
Awesome, awesome.
Yes, that is great, Kendra. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Clay, I've seen something similar to this, but this was so impactful. And I want to go back and watch the recording, and I want to share it with Earl, and I want to share it with my team. This is great.
So I think, Roger, did you have something you wanted to share with us, my friend?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I started listening to you. Well, I've heard some stuff, but the Wizard of Oz Yellow Brick Road thing with network marketing just flipped me right into, that it was great for me to hear that. I mean, I can't explain how you explained it, but then also the franchisee and the franchisor, yeah, was another note mark too. So I just really can get a grip of what you're talking about through, starting out with the Yellow Brick Road thing. That Wizard of Oz, when you put it that way, it was different.
Well, we do things differently for sure, right? The world is no longer flat, my friend, so we do things differently.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Well,
Thank you.
good. So y'all can see in the messages, we have the Leadership Biz Solutions on Facebook. You can find the recording there. And Clay's email, he put that in the chat. That's clay@execute90.com. And so Clay, this was fantastic. Thank you so very much. And guys, if there's nobody else has anything to say, we are going to end the call. But I don't see any more hands raised. But Clay, thank you for who you are and all that you do, and for touching our life. And I mean that with everything. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Cherie, for all that you do and all that you are. Give Earl a big hug for me.
I will. Thank you. And good night, everyone. Thank you, Nakima, for who you are and for setting all this up. Thank you so very much, and good night to everyone.
Thank you so very much, Cherie, for all that you did. Awesome call, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Nice. Thank you.
And everybody.
Good night. Thank you.